This is episode 180 of the Double Cross Anime podcast. I'm Whooper, and here's Mario.
Hello everyone, how are you?
I'm sure they're all great. I'm sure they've all been boning up on anime films recently, because I think that's probably the only way you would discover this podcast episode. Is if you wanted to hear two guys talk about Totto-chan, the little girl at the window, or
Yep,
Ghost Cat Anzu, or Mononoke, Phantom in the Rain.
yep.
Those are the three films from last year, or I
hmm
guess the year before, depending on what release date you're thinking about. Japanese theatrical, festival, English subtitle,
Yep.
whatever, pick your pleasure. For us, it's just when they became available on the internet, we watched all three of these films and we're going to discuss them. One of them in particular may prove challenging for us. You might have to bear with us a little bit as we sort out what the hell happened in that
Even
film.
even the characters,
Yeah,
we
even their names, who
yeah,
they are, what they contributed to the movie.
yep.
It was hard to say, at least for me. So those are the three movies. Mario, which one do you want to start with?
I think we can go by the theatrical orders. So like from the old to newest.
Did
So
Mononoke even have a theatrical release? Because I know it was a film on a streaming service.
yep, that's a good point. I think we can go with Totto-chan first.
Okay.
Let's leave the challenging Mononoke later on.
I mean, the more time elapses between when I finished watching it and when we talk about it, the less clear it will be in my mind. But I'm fine with starting with Toto-chan because that was by far my favorite of these three.
All right, that's interesting. All right,
Um,
Totto-chan. I would
it's a
say
film
that
about children and education, so
yeah,
those
yeah,
are
that's true.
bullseyes for me.
I would say beforehand that I enjoyed the three movies that we watched in three different ways. So like this film offers something different from each other. Like even Mononoke, which is very hard to grasp at times, I can still appreciate the visuals. So yeah, Toto-chan. I really enjoy the I think it's a bit obvious as well. Do you really enjoy the character designs in the movies?
You're talking about the fact that everyone looks like a doll, or that
Yep,
they have
yep,
makeup on, even the children.
yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that
That
was kind of strange. I knew that was I'd seen PVs for the film, so I knew it was going to look like that. But it didn't take me long to get used to it.
yep. All right.
I'm guessing that the character designs were, um, you know, inspired by or taken from illustrations that have been done for
Yep,
some printing or other of the book, because Toto-chan is like one of the best-selling novels in modern Japanese history. At
yep.
least, if Wikipedia and other top Google hits weren't lying to me.
I actually have the book in my shelf.
Oh, really?
Uh, never get to reading that actually, but yeah, it's the title. It's the book that I meant to read for quite some time. So yeah, when the movie announced, I was just like, yeah, I just gonna watch the movie first. Just gonna skip the
Wrong
book.
order, but
But
that's okay. I mean,
yeah,
it was a nice film.
I really enjoyed the passage of time. Like when I didn't really notice like all the cut, all the other things that they focus on until finish watching and like just looking back on it. But I feel that all the portion are really well spaced. Like you got to see her from the very early life until I think it's like the uh either like the end of 1930s or like the beginning of 1940. I think at one point it come to like 1942 and then 1943 and then at the end of it is when they have to evacuate. So like it really well spaced and we see the subtle change in their circumstances as well in Toto-chan and as he grow more mature as well. So the subtle change in her personality and everything just come together at the end. Okay.
Or comes apart
Or come
because
apart.
they have
Yeah.
to evacuate to Aomori to
Yep.
flee the air raids
Yeah.
that actually destroy Tomoe Academy, where she spent I don't know 4 years of her life,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. The film does, it gives you kind of a year by year breakdown.
Hmm.
Whenever there's a transition to a new calendar year, it says at the bottom
Yeah.
what year it is, and it spends a lot of its time. If I had to, I mean, I didn't record any timestamps or anything, but I would say if I'm just ballparking it, that it spends about half of its time in its initial year of 1940,
Hmm. All right.
as Totto-chan, you know, enrolls at the school and meets the students there, and I don't know, learns what the curriculum is like and how the school is different from others that she's attended and been kicked out of, because she's a problem child. There's a scene where she asks, I think she asks the principal. There,
Yep.
it's really interesting that in order to determine whether or not she'll be admitted to Tomoe Academy, I guess,
They have a little interview.
yeah, and the mom is encouraged to like just go off and do her own thing so he can talk to Toto-chan. And she, of course she's talking about just whatever strikes her fancy, whatever her little 7-year-old mind, 8-year-old mind,
Yeah.
however old she is, whatever she's curious about. And eventually she runs out of those things and asks the principal, why does everyone call me a problem child?
Yeah. Yeah.
And his response is that you're a good child,
Mm. Yeah.
which is also the last line of the film, the one that Toto repeats to her little baby sister. You're such a good child, as they're on the train to
Yeah.
Aomori.
Yeah.
So that was a really nice way to end it because it was clear based on that decision that the education that she got at Tomoe was impactful. It shaped her way of thinking, her way of speaking,
Yeah.
so that even when her little sister cries on a train full of war weary people who don't want to hear the sounds of an upset infant,
Hmm.
Toto-chan still, even though her sister has caused trouble for those people in that moment, she still holds her and praises her and loves her.
Yeah. And
I thought that was nice.
yeah. And I think the film highlight the school education system. Like I think it's really unique to have like the a class inside the train
Hmm.
and and everything that he teach, like the way that one day he saw Tatu-chan just like going through the all of these the pile of shit. I don't know what to a better way
Yeah,
to say that.
she's
And
scooping shit out of the sewage system, I guess,
yeah, yeah.
in order to try to
And
retrieve her wallet.
yeah, and he was like he was curious as well, and he was like, "What are you doing?" So he the way he approached is vastly different than the first teacher that we see that keeps saying that Toto-chan is a problem child because uh they doesn't get to understand what the way that Toto-chan thinking. So he was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, I want to get my wallet back." And he was just standing there watching her, and then he was like, "Yeah, make sure to clean up after you finish," and then
Yeah.
and then gone.
Yeah, that to be honest, that scene struck me as kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, all
Um,
right.
I mean, I understood the what the scene was trying to communicate, and I felt it.
Yeah.
It got across the principal's patience, his hands-off approach, his willingness to let children make mistakes and then to clean up after themselves and all that. And I get that, and I appreciate that. But honestly, the character in this film who is the most similar to me is the female teacher from the start who's like, get this child out of my classroom. That's me. Um, and you
but
can't just let a kid scoop shit out of like its underground,
yeah, I
appropriate dwelling place and up onto a surface where people are going to walk. That's a health hazard that is going to endanger your other students.
yeah, you're talking about actually you got it about like 100 years ago now, almost 80, 90 years ago. So
But surely people understood at that point like you shouldn't spread
yeah,
poop where people are going to be walking, least of all
yeah,
children.
yeah.
At that
Well,
point, I'm sure medicine had come at least that far. But he does just let her, uh, you know, do her thing. And she
yeah,
says later, she expresses to someone, maybe to him or maybe to her parents, I tried to get
yeah,
my wallet back, so I'm satisfied. Even though I couldn't find it, I did my
yeah,
best.
yeah. That was to him. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Obviously if children are allowed to do that at that school, it's very hands off. Um, the curriculum is
uh,
there's one of the first scenes where Totto-chan, she's a new student and she picks her spot by the window, which is
yeah.
reflective of
Title.
the film's title.
Yeah,
And she sees what all the other students are doing. Each of them are they get to do their own thing. Whatever it is that they're interested in, that's what they pull out of their desks or out of their, backpacks or whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
start working on. That is, that idea is very intriguing to me.
yeah. It's a bit. It's a bit. It's a kind of a mess, I think, because it just you know they just do their own things and well, mm, interesting.
Well, all of it is constructive. Like there's a little boy who's doing some sort of science experiment with a light bulb that's going on and off when he's connecting a circuit, and there are some who are developing their motor skills and their artistic skills by coloring, drawing pictures.
Mm,
And there's a boy who reads a book, and there's um, I don't know. Some are doing like math problems. Some are. There was a boy who was a gardener. I think that was one of the
mm,
students.
yep, yep, yep.
Maybe he did something related to gardening when they all pulled out their own individual little projects. I thought I much prefer that to what we were just talking about, the poop stuff.
Yeah, and we get to see the everyday life of their activity as well. Even when they having lunch and they do like a little dance to each other, or they just try to get you know enough nutrition for their lunch. So that's the whole thing about the lunch have to have something akin to the ocean and something to from the ocean and from the mountain.
hmm
And
Yeah.
I found that interesting as well. And from
Yeah,
what
what's
I
kind of
see,
cool about that is it generates discussion between the principal and I would assume.
mhm,
I mean, we don't really get to hear from the teachers at the school. It's mostly the principal. It's highlighting how,
yeah, yeah,
his educational philosophy. But I would assume it would generate conversation between the students and the teachers as well about where food comes from.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And at that point, many parts of Japan were still, this school, Tomoe, is in Tokyo. Totto-chan, her family lives in Tokyo, so the film is set in Tokyo. But many parts of Japan were still agrarian at this point, so it would have been
mhm,
important to know like where your food is coming from. There
yeah,
are no supermarkets at this point in history.
yeah. And yeah, this is like a small school because like when they get all together, I think Totto-chan also remarked that it's very much smaller. The number is smaller than her previous school.
Yeah,
But all we see actually is actually this one class and the teacher. which we don't even know the name, and the principal.
Yeah, I guess there are other classes that all feed into the cafeteria when it's lunchtime. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly how that works, but I think it makes sense for the film to focus in
just
on
focus. Yeah.
just a small group because that way when you get to that scene towards the end when
Mhm.
everyone is saying goodbye,
Yeah.
like the school is being shut down,
Mhm.
and all the children are
Is
giving
that
little.
shooting down? I think they just graduate.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So it was just the
In
firebombing that destroyed it, that
yeah.
prevented its
Yeah.
continued operation. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess they were graduating. But why would so many of them be graduating all at the same time? Because they were of different ages, weren't they?
They were different ages, but yeah, they still shut up on in the same class though, right? So
I guess so. Like the kid who was smaller than everyone else.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there was a scene where his teacher asked him whether he had a tail, and then she was
yeah,
reprimanded by the principal for
yeah,
not choosing her words carefully. I
yeah,
guess he was supposed to be the same age as everyone else,
yeah,
and you had to be sensitive about. I mean, I don't know
yeah,
what the harm is in playfully asking whether he had a tail, but who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. I think it's just to prevent the risk of him getting bullied from the rest of the children. Because
Yeah, maybe.
children can
Although
be,
all these children are like remarkably good natured.
I agree. Yeah.
It does that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like children with ADHD, especially boys with ADHD,
Yeah,
like cannot control their bodies really. They like if they have the impulse to hit someone, they just do it.
yeah.
Uh, so I
Well,
assume that many of the children who were at this school had conditions that were along those lines, and yet they were all working together in harmony whenever they were on camera.
I'm not really sure that like all of them are, like disability child. I just think that it's Totto-chan who obviously is hyperactive, and they this other boy who who cannot walk properly. And there's a ton of time in this movie where the film kind of like spend more time between Toto-chan and this boy
Yasuaki.
Asuaki, right? And that really affecting as well. The way that she tried to get him to up to the trees. He
Yeah.
include him to every opportunity, even they go to swimming. And
Oh, speaking of swimming,
yep,
the fantasy sequences
yep,
in this film, I mean, not I don't think
I love
every
that.
single one of them was a winner. The final one I think was Toto-chan's nightmare about Yasuaki not being able to cross the frozen river on the little ice blocks.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
particularly
yeah,
like that style.
yeah.
But most of them, the swimming one was so beautiful.
I agree.
The
Yeah,
the choral vocals like ah with the harp there's like harps and just all the most gorgeous instruments that you can like pick out of an orchestra were all playing in harmony with like a children's choir sitting above it like being woven in and out of the music. It was and the visuals with everyone all the other kids turning into like different sea creatures and them swimming in different patterns. It was just incredible.
yeah. I
I loved
agree.
it.
I actually prefer all these fantasy or dreams than the look of it than the actual movies. But for me, they just they make a choice of the visual presentation of Toto-chan. I don't particularly like that choice, but I enjoy the rest of that.
Well, but I mean, you may not like some of the character design decisions, but there's no doubt that the movie has wonderful background art, and the animation
I
is excellent. Like
I agree. The
whenever Yasuaki walks and his one of his arms and one of his legs are not, like typically formed, and he has to kind of drag them along, and he has to pick up his arm and like
mm,
place it on a desk or wherever he wants it to go. There's just
yeah,
so much attention to detail in those scenes specifically, and in the way that Toto-chan runs, how she
yeah,
kind of bounces.
yeah.
Um,
I agree. Like this show about animation, especially towards Toto-chan, who is very hyperactive. It's really on point. Like all the animation and with all the children are really good. But because of that, they actually doesn't really pay particular attention to um, the the framing, the cinematography, so to speak. Because I think those moments they don't call attention to detail by themselves. They look a bit more conservative to me. It's just a minor complaint though. It's not something that take me out of the film or anything.
I didn't get that sense at all. I appreciated that so many of the shots had the camera removed from the characters and allowed them to move about.
Right.
Like whenever Toto-chan was um, going to school, like if she was walking through a a street with buildings on either side, or if she was near the train station, whether she was
Mhm.
approaching it or leaving it after she'd been on the train to get to Tomoe Gakuen. Um, Scenes of the kids in the pool,
Mhm.
or everyone at lunchtime, where we got to see more children than we typically do in a single shot. I really loved all those moments. The whole sequence where she runs away from Yasuaki's funeral and like
Yeah.
through the city, I
All
thought
right.
was very well composed. And
That I feel a bit too much. The way that she run into, like she run into the kid playing worse. She run
right,
into one of the vegetarian who, sorry, veteran who came back from the war and uh, who I think lost his leg,
yeah,
and then she run into like a family grieving for one of her child died away from the war.
right.
A bit too much, but you forgot to mention my favorite scene actually is the singing in the rain.
Yes, that was one of the fantasy sequences.
Yeah,
There was a singing in the rain homage. I was surprised by that. But I guess it kind of makes sense because there's a lot of Western influence in this film, particularly in the first half. It's
yeah,
clear that
yeah,
Toto-chan's, I mean, they live in a Western style house, and she calls them Mama and Papa, which is a behavior
yeah,
she has to stop once
yeah,
news of the war with America breaks.
yeah,
Um, and there's also Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is a famous American book that Yasuaki recommends that she read, and it's one of his last conversations with her, at least that we see, is him
yeah.
giving her that book before his death.
Yeah. Like the scene, the moment that they part way and that he tried to like say something like his animal to Toto-chan, it was really effective.
Yeah,
Uh,
did you? I didn't understand what he was trying to say there. I didn't like look
no,
into it too much. I just let the scene pass
yeah, no,
and
I
kept
I
watching.
I, I didn't look into it either, but I think it's more like yeah, his parting words to her.
Yeah,
Uh, so that lead into like the next scene where we know that he already passed away, not to abrupt it to us as the audience, but like for the rest of the class, that should be a shock. Especially that we don't really know uh why he died. We
well, he had polio.
polio,
It's a
right?
degenerative disease.
I see. Yeah.
Like it'll kill you. I maybe at this point in history there was no polio vaccine. I don't remember when it was developed.
All right. Hmm. All right.
Now, I mean, nowadays nobody gets polio because every child is immunized against it at an extremely young age. But it was, highly deadly in the past.
Yeah. Mm. All right. Interesting.
Man, but
Like,
he still got to climb that tree, man,
yeah,
thanks
yeah.
to
That
Toto-chan's
he's,
perseverance and his perseverance. He
yeah,
if one ladder didn't work, she went and got another one.
yeah.
If he couldn't take a step, you know, on his own, she would get up into the tree herself, bend over at the waist, pull his one good arm up with her
That
two arms.
that scene is really effective. They take such a good times. Like it seemed forever, and in a good way because like like all the efforts they put in to get him into the tree, and they eventually achieve it.
And then they get to
So
have a nice conversation when they're up there about TV,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the magic box that could bring world peace.
yeah.
I wondered as I listened to that little back and forth. He says the TV, could bring world peace, and that maybe Toto-chan would be on TV one day too.
Mhm.
Um, she says, "No, I don't want to be trapped in a box." So
Yeah.
when I heard that, I wondered, is that a reference to this novel taking so long to get an adaptation? Because
Mhm.
perhaps its author didn't want it to be adapted for a long time, and so when Toto-chan says, "I don't want to be in a box," is that meant to reflect the original author's point of view?
Hmm. That very interesting. Maybe that's the point, but maybe it's also in the original context of the book. So I
Yeah,
gonna check that out.
yeah. I mean, you've got it on your bookshelf.
Yeah, never get to
Even
read.
even better though than the scene he where Yasuaki manages to climb the tree, or the conversation that they have in the tree is the one right after that when he goes back home and he's taking a bath.
Oh my God, that's it. All right,
Yeah,
you tell me. Yeah, yeah, you tell
it
me.
was incredible. Just
No, no, no. It's too much.
you think that you thought that was too much?
It's the
That
one
was
scene that
beautiful.
it's the one scene that I feel too much. It's my least favorite scene out of the whole movie. It's
It
the
was
scene
my
where
favorite.
it. All right, all right. It's the scene where
A
his
mother
mother.
weeping with gratitude that her disabled son has found a friend who will play with him and
Look
not
at the
just
way
leave him alone to read books in the train car by himself while all the other boys and girls play outside.
that she say. Like I will keep watching this or something, and then she weep in like in front of the door, and that's too much, man.
She
It's
when she says that she's gonna have to it's so dirty and that she's gonna have to clean it,
yeah,
she's obviously not upset about the fact that the clothes are dirty.
yeah.
She's
Well,
overcome with gratitude to a
all right,
child,
all
to
right.
Yasuaki's probably maybe his first ever friend in his life. She's moved beyond words.
All right. I actually appreciate the scene that come later on when they do uh the sport days where
Yeah.
Totto-chan and him just doing the running together. I think it's represent well of their friendship, and the two moms, they actually just over the moon, and like they keep singing praise to the other kid. So I love that scenes. I
Yeah.
think
That
I
was
feel it's lighthearted. It just also emotional because I think they finished last, but who care because they finished the run.
right.
And yeah, I feel that scene is much more work better, more effectively for me than mommy crying out of gratitude scenes.
Well, I love scenes where characters cry not because they're sad, but because they're happy or because
Yeah,
they're thankful.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's one of the most beautiful feelings that there is, one of the most beautiful expressions of emotion that there is that we can perform
Yeah.
as human beings.
I remember you like the same scenes in Haiti when the grandma who cried and
Right. Heidi
she
just
just
what does Heidi do? Does she like describe the sunrise to her or
yep
something like that?
yep
Or she compares Heidi to a sunrise in her heart. The narrator says like the golden something.
yeah
I can't remember. But it's very yeah, to me that's very stirring.
yeah oh well and
I
then
also,
so
one scene that doesn't have anything to do with either of those children or their parents
yeah
that I loved was the ex-German
oh
conductor
yeah
conducting the orchestra of like Japanese amateur performers, and
yeah
everyone has sweat stains on their shirts.
yeah yeah
I really liked that
I
little detail.
I just feel that they don't skim on that. You know, like they really show the sweat stains in every one of them, and yeah, and that make us notice that like they wearing the proper suit while they're performing, which is something that later on they cannot do
Right.
because of the war going on and because of like the propaganda that
Yeah,
happening.
it's Western attire.
Yeah,
There's also a scene where I suppose a soldier like accosts Toto-chan's mother for wearing like extravagant
I
clothing,
yeah.
American or
It,
Western clothing. And then Toto-chan distracts him with her little, I don't know what you call it, like an optical book, I guess, where
yeah,
you
yeah.
elongate it and then close it, and it's essentially a pop-up book, but confined within like a little enclosed kind of accordion shaped thing. It's
It it looks so great. Like I really
yeah,
like one of that in my house.
yeah.
Like
That wasn't one of the fantasy sequences, but
no,
it was
yeah,
another deviation from the
yeah,
film, away from its typical presentation and into another style, just for a brief moment, and
yeah,
it really did look cool.
yeah. It does. And yeah, I think it is like one of these moments where it's the least natural because the way that the police just like, oh my god, that looks so great, and then looking over to they already gone. It's just like one of these very film moments out of the whole film because I think this film is very naturalistic.
Well, yeah, it's not a film about realism. I mean,
Right.
even the premise of the film, which is that all these children are being given this wonderful like progressive education
hmm
at a school that takes place in a train car,
hmm
um, is that in and of itself is not realistic or naturalistic. It's like they have their own little Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
kind of cloistered away from the rest of the world. And then as the film goes on and we see 1941, 1942, and we get deeper into the war, we see how that intrudes on the lives of the children and of Japanese people in general.
I really like the subtle change in their situation as well. Like at first, the man who check the ticket man is like the one of the middle aged man, and then we see at one point it change into like the woman because obviously the man had to go to work.
Right.
So I like that details, and then like the way that Toto-chan household change as well over the time. Like they live in a really luxurious house at first, and then they have to wear plain clothes. They don't have any more to eat. Their father struggled to survive, and he been offered to play some of the propaganda song for military, which is declined. Uh, Personally, though, I feel that it's a bit uh, it's hard on him to do that, but it's a bit selfish of him, to not accepting that,
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah.
considering the like the family circumstances. But well,
Yeah, but I mean this is a film about dreamers. The
I
the
agree.
principal
Yep,
of Tomoe Academy is a dreamer.
yep,
Toto-chan herself
yep,
is
yep.
a dreamer, and her
She
father is
dreams.
too. You know,
Right.
he calls
Yep,
her his own daughter Totosuke.
yep,
I'm not exactly sure what the significance of that is, but it sounds kind of like folkloric or literary to
mm,
my ear.
mm,
Like
yep,
he
yep,
refers to his daughter as though she is a character,
yep, yep,
someone who is not quite real, someone who has like particular qualities that make them stand out in a way that's a little bit more than human.
yep, 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 yep.
So when he says I mean I felt the same way that you did. I think if I were him, I would suck it up and I
Yep.
would I would play those songs even if it, you know, even if I were disgusted
Yep.
with what I had to do to survive. I would do it for my wife and my daughter, if not for myself.
And the way he explained that as well, like this instrument, I know what this instrument playing this song. I was like, oh wait, so you actually value this instrument more than the welfare of your family. That's what that's what I thought, man.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it's terrible. But I personally, I thought the film pulled off the scene pretty
Well,
well.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
moment when Toto wakes up and comes down the stairs,
mm,
her mother is already there
yeah,
watching her father play, and
yeah,
the fact that she like only has to go halfway down the stairs and join her mother
yeah,
in listening. And I mean, the song was just beautiful. I tried to identify what it was by screenshotting the part of the credits where
yeah.
the all the
Oh,
music
yeah,
is listed, but it
yeah.
wasn't there because it's probably
Oh,
a song that's like in the public domain, so they don't have to
yeah,
credit it, or else I just couldn't identify it.
mm,
But
yeah.
it doesn't. It's not responsible of him. It's not let's say ethical of him, but I like the
Mm,
scene.
yeah, yeah. Well, he got the support from Totto-chan and his wife anyway, and so
I guess that counts for something, even if you're
yeah,
starving.
yeah. Let's stop together. But yeah, I feel the yeah. I just had a great time watching the film. I think I don't love it the way you do. You love obviously love it more than me. I have
Oh
some
yes.
nitpicks over like some little details that I already discussed. But like as a whole, I think it's just very nicely paced, and like we can see the subtle change in like the way that the first half is like just like a coming of age. It's just like comedy, and then the second half it gets serious. It's not it's not too abrupted as well. The way that
Yeah, I mean
they
it's going year by year. Toto-chan
yeah,
is growing
yeah,
1 year at a time. We get little hints of the fact that the war is happening before that radio broadcast where
yeah,
she's
yeah,
asked to check the weather, and instead we hear Japan has declared war or entered war with the American and British blah blah blah,
yeah,
whatever the thing was.
yeah. It doesn't last long though, right? Because like I think they gave up in 1945, so it's just like a year or two after this, after they have to
Yeah, I mean
evacuate. So
1945 is the last year of the film. It goes from 40 to 45.
I see. So it
1945 was the year of the two atomic bombings.
yeah, yeah. So that's
But
very
the film
interesting.
doesn't, I don't think it mentions the bombings.
They don't mention the bombing. I think the film ends before the bombing happened
Yeah.
because they have to evacuate out of Tokyo, and I think a few years afterward, Tokyo will have like the big earthquake. So that change itself as well,
Hmm.
like the whole things. But yeah. Like I just said, it just go like comedy and lighthearted at first, and then it gets serious at the end. So Toto-chan actually not only experience the hardship of war, but also experience the death of her friends, of her best friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it has like all the weight. It's very emotional. It's actually mature. I just feel that like the adult can get a lot out of it, as well as the children for
Yeah.
this movie.
Well, I think there are many films that have child protagonists that adults could stand to learn something from,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of adults just feel as though they're too old for it, but
All right.
you're
The
never too old for film.
I agree. Children films. Uh, the only thing that I'm a bit question about it is do you have like the beginning the title when they has like some disclaimers about like this a depict the periods uh of Japan uh before the war or during the World War II or something, and it was like it
I remember a
what
little line like that at the start of the film, yeah, saying that it was
yeah,
based on true events or something, and it documented the what really happened to the author. Like
right,
it was autobiographical, and that it
yeah,
happened during the war and stuff.
all right,
I didn't
all
think
right,
there was anything weird about it.
yeah,
The author's name
it,
is Tetsuko Kuroyanagi,
yeah,
um, and she is Toto-chan. I mean, it's like an autobiography. It's like a childhood memoir, I guess you would call it.
it's like it's like Madoka-chan in a way. They use the
Yes,
same name. They yeah,
yes. It's all about like capturing a time and a place and drawing on your own personal experience, documenting it.
yeah. All right, good film to pick and to watch. Shall we?
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah. All
But
right.
what's next?
Shall we get to Mononoke the movies?
Yeah, I've got nothing for this one, but we
Phantom
can
in the
dive in.
Rain. All right, let's dive in Mononoke.
Let's not
Uh,
literally dive in though, because I think that water down there in the well is actually
yeah.
people or something.
Oh, all right. They have to give up uh their beloved possession, right? So it's also these things and people. Oh my God, that turned into the water. I have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well,
Whenever the film cut to a shot of like raindrops or just water falling into those little porcelain cups,
yeah,
it cut into a close up of it, and it wasn't clear where those cups were, at least not to me, or the context of the shot. It just put the symbol, like the image, on screen.
yeah.
So I was never able to grasp exactly. Well, there are many
Yeah.
things about this film that I wasn't able to grasp.
All right. Before we get into the movie, though, tell tell me tell me more about what you feel about Mononoke, the series, the one we watched in 2007.
Was it 2007 or
Yeah,
8? 2007. Okay.
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of Mononoke. I watched the three appropriate episodes of Ayakashi like classic horror with the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bakeneko arc.
yeah,
Um, Speaking of Bakeneko, actually, the third film that we're going to discuss today also has the word Bakeneko in its title.
yeah,
Um, but I watched the three episodes of Ayakashi horror tales that you're supposed to watch, and then I watched the Mononoke series. I came away from it largely unimpressed. I'm not a horror
mm,
fan,
yeah,
and its particular style of horror
yeah,
uh, didn't really move the needle for me. Recently, we watched the first four episodes of it when we were doing a little
yeah,
kind of experiment to see what the best anime of the 2000s was. We got a
yeah,
little bit of Mononoke revisitation there, and I
mm,
didn't care for it then either. I mean, the art style it's eye-catching.
Yeah.
That's about all I have to say about it.
Right. I I probably enjoy Mononoke the series more than you. So I really enjoy the art style, the work, the way that they put into like the visual. It's just outstanding. It's just really great to look at. There's less about the plot, but more about the atmospheres, and I kind of appreciate that as well. So all the things that I enjoy in the series come forward to this movie. I think they really retain the same kind of feeling and confusion as well. Uh, well, it's a lot of confusion in here. Um,
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think I was ever confused by any of Mononoke's individual arcs in the TV
right.
series. Certainly if an arc was 4 or 3 episodes long, as I think
Yeah.
most of them were, you had to wait a while for everything to become clear at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once once everything was revealed, you were like, "Oh, okay." So that's what I was watching this whole time. In
Yeah.
this film, at at least for me, there was no such sense of clarity once I got to the end. I was like, "Huh?
Yeah.
Who was that guy? And what
Yeah.
why did it look like she died, but it was actually another woman who died and she was actually still alive, but why did she even have to live? What was her purpose in the story?" I just did like I didn't
Yeah.
know what I had just seen.
All right. I can tell you that I think the series because it's spanned out for like 2 or 3 episodes. So at first I thought it's gonna be like like the same thing that's the Mononoke the movie is because of the length, but it actually a bit shorter. So like it only like if you put that in the span of like 3 episodes, it's like just an hour. This one is like an hour 30 minutes. So that is the reason why the movie just feel like it keep expanding, it keep padding out, and we not get into the like the main event until I would say like 45 or 50 minute mark, and and then because it getting a bit bigger, it had actually have a lot more characters and it get confusing as well. So me and Whooper before get into this the postcard, we actually try to figure out who is who in, in this movie. Just try to figure out what everyone role in this one because we even confuse who die and how many people die in this film, which is not a good sign.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that like Mononoke experts and major fans of the now franchise
Yeah.
uh, were probably able to follow along better than I was, and so they may not have had any issues. But I mean, I fell asleep while watching this, and then when I woke up, I had to go back, find where I'd been, and then do my
Yeah.
best to stay conscious while finishing it up. Um, so I'm sure there were some people who knew exactly what was going on, and good for them. I just could not manage it. I mean, first of all, it has to establish the setting of the Olku, and all
Yeah.
that I know
I love that.
about it was actually an alternate history version of it,
Yeah.
where it was men who served in the Olku, and the emperor or whatever her title was at that point. What was it? Was she the emperor or was she the shogun? I think she was the
CD.
shogun,
All right.
and she was
I was
female.
about yeah, I was about to say she's the emperor, but you might be right.
I think at that point, Japan was under military rule. I don't
All
know.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a whole alternate history in Olku, the anime from I think 2023,
Yeah.
where there was like a deadly disease that was killing 75% of the male population, et cetera, et cetera. So when I didn't know coming into this film that it was going to be set at the Olku, like the inner chambers. So when somebody brought that up for the first time in the dialogue, I was like, "Oh, okay. Like I'm on board. I want to see what I
Yeah.
can like get out of this, what I can learn from this." What I learned was nothing. In fact, I learned less than nothing. Knowledge left my brain while I was watching this movie. I think brain cells probably came out of my eardrums while I was watching this.
All right. I love the settings. I love it set in like the oku, and we do have some knowledge of the oku because of that anime, and just to see like all the girls how they function, all the policy behind that. Also, how do you get of the visual this time compared to the series?
It's, I mean, it's more wild, I think. The camera
Right.
is moving a lot more, and in general, I'm someone who prefers when the camera is still and the
Mm,
subjects that it's filming are moving. That's what I like. So
mm,
in this film, there's a lot of quick cuts in particular scenes. There's a lot of camera movement. The colors are much bolder than they were in the TV series, where everything looked a little more soft, and the kind of paper filter that was put over everything
mm,
contributed more to the overall look. This time, I thought the paper filter was not a great choice because the colors were so strong that it kind of felt unnecessary, or like took a back seat to the color design in a way that was kind of unattractive.
yeah,
Um,
I agree with you on that.
I I don't know. I mean, what I will say is that when it came time, when the medicine seller had acquired the name, truth, and form
Yep.
of the Mononoke, and we got that scene where like he's standing on level ground, and the camera does a kind of a 180
Mhm, mhm.
and flips, and he transforms into that other version of himself.
Yep.
And there's that fight scene. I don't even remember how like what the choreography was, or how it worked, how he ended up defeating the Mononoke, but I was like, whoa, things are happening. It looks cool. So that part I liked at least. I couldn't tell you why,
Yeah.
but
All right.
it was amazing looking.
Yeah. I agree with you on the filter because I think it came off a bit strong this time. So it looked amazing in some scene and it looked totally distracting in on others, and most of the time it looked distracting.
Yeah, my eyes
Uh
were paralyzed in some of the scenes, like that kind of looked down long hallways
yeah,
where
yeah.
the walls were highly decorated on either side. I wasn't like my eyes were not immediately drawn to the characters. You know, I was kind of visually paralyzed.
The CG is a bit hit or miss as well. Like when it comes to the Mononoke and the whole blocking things, it just looked very off to me. But I do like. I think off-putting is in the sense that the show want to try to get across. So you know, um,
I think you're giving it too much credit if you did you
and
say that it wants to get across awkwardness?
off-putting off-puttingness.
Oh, nah, I don't I don't feel the same way. I mean, I think it just was
Uh,
kind of off-putting.
yeah. Well, some of the decision that I like is like like you get to see like all these mates and everyone working there, and you don't know the face, so you have like the black face with like the question mark or something or some symbol.
It's like a little white spiral, I think.
Yep, yep, yep. The
And their
spiral
faces
things.
change colors based on whether they're supposed to be like laughing or
Yep,
you know, exhibiting a
yep,
particular
yep.
emotion or receiving a
And
particular instruction.
even the main characters, not the main mains, but some of these characters that we know the faces, they keep changing back and forth as well between become a nobody and like their real face. So I
Yeah.
like the choice, but
That's not
or
the only time that the film does stuff like that either.
yeah,
The
yeah,
doll that is supposed to represent, I think, Kitagawa, the woman who disappears and
yep,
causes the birth ceremony to be delayed by 2 months or something.
yep, yep, yep.
She is also represented by a doll that exists in Asa's room, which is also Kame's room,
Right,
I think, or maybe it's a different room in the palace.
yep,
But there will sometimes be scenes where, for example, in this connection that I'm trying to make, a character will be represented by an object, and the film will like do a jump cut where at
Yep.
first you see the symbol on screen, and then you may see the character like in its place.
Right, right, right. Yep,
And
yep, yep,
it'll move the position of the lens, like the angle from which it's filming, slightly
yep, yep,
in those instances. So it's kind of
yep,
going for a filmic look whenever it does that.
yep. And I love the fact that they also do the one of that door as well. You know, like when first she dropped, Asa dropped the door, we actually see the next shot from the door eyes of view, and we see that from the position of like under the whale, looking up, and have like the Asha looking down at the door. I I love this decision like that. I don't know if you can recall that shot.
I don't exactly. I mean, I do remember some scenes where characters
Yeah,
would fall into the well, or they would
yeah,
almost fall into the well. I
yeah,
remember one where like Asa was trying to save Kame from falling in, but then something
yeah,
happened and their positions were suddenly switched.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't understand that.
All right, all right. I think it's better we can go through a bit of like the plot so that we get it straight. So this is the show about movie is about these two new characters, Asha and Kame, who came to Oku right at the same day, so they become friends. Asha is very capable. Kame is just loud and noisy. Uh,
She's like
they
clumsy. She's not very competent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a better way to put that. And then there is you know like the people inside the oku uh where they arrange everything, and then there is some sort of like the ceremony of a child that been keep delaying for 2 months, and now they decided that to happen. At the same time, the disappearance of like one of the girl, um, and there's something involved with like the two boys as well. Like they try to investigate about uh the disappearance of this one girl, right? Kitagawa,
Is
and
that why they're there? I thought they were just there generally to oversee Utayama, the woman who was making the plans for the birth
all right,
celebration. Because it had been delayed, they were sent there in order to like
all
observe
right,
her and make sure everything was above board. That's what I seem
yeah,
to remember.
all right. And under Utayama, we have like two more ladies who like supervise the whole thing. So two of them end up dying in this film, Mukitani and
Awashima.
and Awashima. And
Yeah.
then we have like a brief scene about like the king, the emperor favorite girls at the moment. The girl with like a darker skin,
Yes, I can't
uh,
remember her name. I think it started with an F.
Fuki.
Yeah. Yeah, and
We
one of
know,
the two observers who was sent to the Oku was related to her somehow, right?
I think so. I'm not too sure about that. So here my theory, Asa. So the whole thing, I think I all right, all right. Before getting into the theory, my theory, the whole thing is about Kitagawa, who came to become a scribe, and then she got burned out. She have like there's no fire left in me or something along that line, and then she apparently she disappeared, and then she become a Mononoke, and then she haunted the other people. That's what is that what it's about?
I I don't know.
All right, because I think the whole thing with like the water tradition have been going on really long. So I'm not sure if Katagawa become a Mononoke have uh is like the main contribution to that, or it's happened beforehand. I'm not really sure on that. But my theory is that I don't think Asha is real either. I think Asha is like the version of that Kitagawa created in order to like make things right. So that's she have Kame, who is like supposed to be like her two friend, and that keep her alive, not falling into the world. So that's the whole confusing thing about Asa trying to rescue Kame falling into the world, but it turned out to be Kame who do that to Asha, the whole thing.
Right. But if Asa is not real, then it even if they change positions, it doesn't work in either scenario.
Yeah. It's just a bit confusing because at the end I think Asha is in fact real because we got like uh the sequel happening as well, right? And
Yeah, there are
I
going to be two more Mononoke films, from what I understand. And the
is it
language, at least in the subtitles that I was watching, said
yeah,
to be continued
yeah. So
in something like
it
Ashes of whatever.
yeah, so it might happen in the same setting, right? So they might reuse the characters, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the reason I say that is because we just get like one brief film of Fuki, and I think she's gonna be, like a much more prominent role in the future if they decided to get into that.
Could be. I
Yeah,
mean, the emperor, the whole birthing ceremony or whatever that the that underpins the film's entire plot. That baby was already born,
that's
and it was
true. We
born by another woman who does not even feature in the story.
we don't even see the
So
baby
perhaps
in.
in the follow up, Fuki
Yep.
could be like, "No, I want him to have my baby," and there could be some sort of, I don't know, like murder plot between the various concubines,
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
something like that. I don't know. I I'm just gonna be saying I don't know as long as we continue to talk about this film because I truly did
Yeah.
not understand the plot um,
Yep.
at all. And the
It's
thing is, this is not. I mean, I would have preferred it. I think if we got less information from the film about itself and about the story,
yeah.
and we
Yeah.
could just treat it as a spectacle and do a little bit of reading between the lines. But the thing is, the film does reveal, the many of the um, I don't know, the conflicts between the characters and the reason for example, those two guys who have come to oversee um, Utayama, and it is pretty explicit, I think, about parts of Kitagawa's backstory. There's a part in the film in which she starts to narrate what had happened to her when she originally arrived there to be a scribe. I might
Hmm.
have liked less of that
Hmm.
and more. Uh, I don't know, a shorter runtime, more visual storytelling, less dialogue. I don't know if that would have fixed my issues with this film though, because I truly brain just
Yep.
not big enough. I couldn't get my hooks in.
Yeah. I think the show tried really hard to try to maintain the mysteries. That's like it failed miserably of like telling a proper story. So you
I
you kind
guess.
of you kind of get behind Asha because she's really great to look at for once. Because she kind of like the point of view that we can rely on. But for all these other characters, it just kind of comes and goes. So yeah, I can say that I can relate to any of these characters, even even to Asha.
Well, I wouldn't expect to be able to relate to them since this is happening centuries and centuries in the past.
Hmm.
Um, oh, now I see Fuki here on the character list. I had a hard time finding her because her last name is Tokita. Um, sorry, that didn't have anything to do with what you were talking about. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I even if I can't relate to a character or characters in a film, I can still appreciate things about it. That just wasn't my experience with this one.
Yep.
It was
All right.
tough.
All right.
It
Uh,
was kind of cool looking though, you know, when it
yep.
wasn't hurting my eyes.
All right. Are you interested into watching the sequel of this?
Not at all.
Is my next question. All right. Fair enough.
Not at all.
All right. Shall we get into Cat Anzu?
Sure. Back to my notes
All right.
since I
Cat
have
Anzu.
some here.
I think the most noticeable things about Cat Anzu is that it actually uh rotoscope. So they actually film uh film the people acting and then retrace that even to the cat because I think I watched the trailer and they explain the process of like having some actor doing that and then they trace that into to make it as a cat and
Well,
it's kind of
I don't
cool.
know if I would use the word trace. I mean,
All
that's
right. Yep.
typically the procedure when you rotoscope, but I think this film does something different with it. You know,
Yep.
most of the characters are not of like typical human proportions. Even characters that are human, for example, Yochan, who is
Yep.
the kind of short guy with no neck and glasses, who hires Anzu and Karin
Oh,
to
yep. Yep. Yep.
hunt
Yep.
those birds that are eating the sweet fish.
Yep.
He's a human character, but he looks nothing like a human. Like you couldn't find an actor who looks like him, who has his dimensions. So I think
Hmm.
whatever process they used to take the live action footage and make it into animation,
Hmm.
it may have been more like they were it may have been more like they were inspired by the actors'
Yep.
performances in creating the animation rather than just like using it,
Yep. Yep.
tracing
Yep. Yep.
it.
Yep. Yep. I
And
agree
I
with you
you
on
know,
that.
there's a gigantic cat, there's a gigantic frog, there's the turnip spirit.
Yep.
Um, there's all the demons once the film gets to its like larger story, I suppose, the more supernatural half of
Hmm.
things when they escape from hell through the toilet and start wreaking havoc on the world outside.
Yep. Yep.
There's no tracing characters like that.
Yep. And what I found about the rotoscoping, I think we got a bit of that in um, the case of Hannah and Alice as well. Is that
Yeah.
some of the character they just don't bother to like to draw a proper eyes at all. They just have like a dot like Tintin. And this
Like the priest, for example.
like, yep, yep, yep. It just yeah, it's just whatever. It kind of took me out of it for a bit, but yeah.
And you have real character design issues, huh? You just wanted everybody to look like an anime character.
No, 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 no. It just
Everyone should look like Kirito from Sword Art Online.
no, 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 no.
I love the character designs in this movie.
All right, all right.
It doesn't look anything like Dead Dead Demon or Oyasumi Pun Pun, but I think there
Yep,
is a
yep,
philosophy that is at least somewhat similar guiding the
yep, yep,
character
yep,
designs of this film, which is that people are allowed to be like unattractive.
yep.
You can kind of highlight a character's unluckiness or their stupidity or their clumsiness through their design.
Yep.
Whether that mean they have like big lips or they're bald or they're very stocky or they have no neck or whatever.
Yeah.
And by contrast, Karin is like, the two little boys who are roughly her age who form this delinquent group or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
They're immediately smitten with her, and when we meet her mom in hell, her mom is very beautiful.
Yep.
So the contrast there is kind of interesting.
Yep.
I also on the dude. Do you remember the scene where there's kind of that showdown in the I don't know the open area? Are they near a temple or something? Where there's that
Yep.
fight between um, Anzu and Kaeru, the frog, and all of his friends on one
Yep.
side, and then the
Yep. 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 Yep.
demons on the other,
Demons.
orcs, whatever they
Yep.
were.
Yep.
Um, and then there's this scene where King Enma, the king of hell, Japan's
Yep.
version of Satan, basically, approaches um, Karin's mom and is like, "You know what you're gonna have to do when you go back down there, right?"
Yep.
Did you get the sense from that he was referring to like forced prostitution?
No, 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 no. I I would reserve for to that as he had to go to Totto. You remember that the scene where the Anzu and Karin just went to one of the room and then got freaked out
In the elevator, right?
in the elevator. I think it's a scene depicting like the demon torturing these poor souls, and I think it's what she get when she go down to the hell.
Okay. The
Yeah,
reason that
but
I brought that up is because the hotel, or I guess maybe it's not technically a hotel because it's in hell,
yeah,
but the place where the god of poverty leads Anzu and Karin to look for her mom,
hmm
like the hotel when they open up one of the doors, there's like a leopard print coat hanging up on the wall, which
hmm
is kind of stereotypically a design and a piece of clothing that is worn by sex workers.
hmm
And that wasn't. I don't think it's a coincidence. They wouldn't have just drawn that for no reason.
wow, yeah, but she was a lady cleaner there, right? Is she not?
Right.
Yeah.
So she was a janitor, but it seemed to me as though Enma threatening her in that scene where his face turns purple and gets all like sketchy and weird
Oh,
was like him
you
implying you're
you
not just going to work in this place anymore. You're going to work in this place.
Oh my God, you don't make it sound weird, okay? I kind of like that uh that man until now. You kind of put on me the wrong idea of him. He's
Who,
kind of
Enma? The king of
in my
hell?
he kind of reasonable when he deal with this issue. He tried to retrieve her because he know they all know that she from the dead, she cannot go back to Earth. And I actually, this is like a very pride version of someone coming back to death. Imagine like like in Full Metal Alchemist, where the mom brought back to life, and what she became here, she can maintain her, her whole you know version of herself.
Right. Well, it's because she got
Anyway,
to use a magic toilet instead of a weird,
that's true. That's true. That's true.
magical scientific
Yeah.
process where you put
Yeah.
together a whole bunch of elements that are supposed to, reconstitute a human body.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. But
Magic always better than science.
uh, but they actually, like does a really good job of showing that this demon is actually not a kind of bad people. Like they actually still follow the law. They
They do
waiting
wait
for,
for like a
yeah,
class of little children.
to cross first.
Yeah.
Before, yeah, and yeah, all they wanted to do is like put a bit of fear to the human, but also just doing their jobs to get carrying what's the bag. So I think it's kind of makes sense. I don't think that will be forced into prostitution. That's gonna be really fucked up. uh
Yeah.
Maybe, but well,
Well, That was just a weird theory I had because of I mean, the fact that they're in this hotel where that sort of thing might happen, and they're opening up the
Yep.
doors,
Yep.
and I mean, well, I don't. We don't need to go on another tangent.
What to
The
take of
I
Karin and
mean,
Anzu?
since it is rotoscoped, the animation is amazing.
Yep. Yep.
I
I
mean, the
agree.
animation is really amazing. Um, it was practically the rotoscoping is. I mean, I read an article about this film before it had released anywhere. I think it was when like a preview was shown at Annecy, the French
All right. Yep.
animation festival, maybe in
Yep.
2023.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And so I knew it was
2024.
rotoscoped.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I
It.
knew it was going to be rotoscoped from that article, but if I hadn't known beforehand, I I wouldn't have been sure. I think the biggest tell is the way that Karin's dad walks.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
fact that he keeps his legs widely spaced and shifts his weight back and forth between each leg as he kind of saunters.
Yep.
That is, I don't think there's an animator alive who could draw that without the like live action photography assisting him.
Hmm.
And if they could, they would need way more time than the schedule of a feature film would allow.
Yep.
But apart from that, I mean, there's the animation's very natural, convincing,
Hmm.
and also the recording of the voices seemed to me
Yep.
as though they were using the audio captured in the
I
live
see.
action, like on location,
Yep. Hmm.
because you could hear the rooms that the lines were being delivered in, like they matched what was on
Yep.
screen, which I thought
Yep.
was
Yep. Yep.
a very cool, technique.
Yep. Hmm. Yep. That interesting.
I was definitely impressed by this film
And
in those departments.
I like the colors as well. You know, like it really um the color palette. They
Yeah,
even though
the
that they yeah they do that live action and then do that in animation. Why it looks fantastical. It just I it's so bright enough as well.
I think there was a mix of backgrounds that were inspired by the on location shooting that they did, and then
Hmm.
there was some background art that was created from scratch. For
Hmm.
example, the underground hot spring that
Yep.
Kaeru the frog had, his hobby is digging holes.
Yep.
This was a little cavern that he had unearthed with a hot spring in it. That didn't seem to have, like, no matter where I looked in any corner of the frame, it didn't seem to have any signs that it had been taken from a photograph or inspired by a
Yep.
photograph. But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
there were other moments where it was clear that they had, shot it with a camera, and some of that came through. For example, in reflections of light. Oops, I hit my pop
All
filter.
good.
Like reflections of light through glass and stuff. Some of that came through into the final product, but in a way that I thought was attractive.
Hmm.
So also the fact that Anzu the cat, his fur is such a light orange,
Hmm.
really goes pleasantly with some of the greens and blues, like in exterior shots. It doesn't clash at all. It works in harmony with those other colors. It was, yeah, I mean, I agree. The colors are great. The backgrounds are great. It's really amazing. I can understand why people were excited about this film before it even, came out.
Yeah. It this film actually before it's showing in Annecy Film Festival, it actually showed in Cannes, and
Right. The
it
director's Fortnite.
yeah the director for July, so it's like one of the section, and I think it I think that's the reason why that's actually not the reason why, but it's like the core French production as well, so
Yeah. Right.
as a result it's more popular in France. Like the first version that I got in here is actually the French dub.
Ah,
along with
okay.
the Japanese dub. But like every the screen title, everything is in French, not in English. So
Nice.
uh, yep,
That's not the version that I downloaded.
I have
Um,
to download another one actually, just
so that the on-screen text would be
in French. Yep.
appropriate, or
No, no.
uh,
So yep. So everything that pop up like directed by or like a film by will be in French, but like the scenery itself is still in Japanese.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Eh,
There's a particular site that I use to download movies.
yep.
It's a Russian site, and sometimes when I download from
Uh,
there,
it
the
they have Russian
subtitles.
dub.
Not
Yep.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There are multiple Russian dubs. There like the size of the video file will be extremely bloated because there'll be like 8 audio tracks, and one of them will be the original,
Right.
but many of them will be like Russian or Ukrainian overdubs.
Yep. Yep.
And sometimes when I download those movies, there will be, of course, there will be English subtitles, but there like if there are on screen subtitles in the movie itself, for example, something
Mm.
telling you what the date is or what the time is or
Yep.
which country is currently being shot, like if it's a spy movie, for example, with a bunch of different countries in it.
Yep.
Sometimes those little bits of on screen text will be in Russian, not in
I
English.
see. I see. Well,
Uh,
it's
so
just small details, right? So you
Yeah,
can
but
still
sometimes
watch the whole
those
thing.
little bits of Russian text are not subbed in English, and I'm like, okay, what day is it now? Where are we? I don't know what part of the globe this is.
Yeah. Well, we should to learn like a crash course of beginners in Russian, so that we
Yeah,
can
learn the
survive.
Cyrillic alphabet.
Yeah.
It might become necessary at some point.
I also story-wise, I also kind of like the idea of Karin and Anzu actually does not get along at first. Like they kind of like, especially Anzu, he kind of like, hey Karin, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm just walking by myself. And he was like, okay, off you go. I do my
What
own
scene was
thing.
this?
All right, there's some scene like that. Like I remember the scene where Anzu the cat about to ride a bike, and then he saw Karin just like
Kind of
behind.
lurking.
Yep, yep. And
Okay,
then he was like,
I
"What
remember
are you?
this now.
What are you up to?" And Karin say like, "Yeah, nothing. Just doing my usual thing." And he was like, "Okay, here I go." So
Do you think at that point she was plotting to get his bike thrown into the river?
not necessary, but I think it's come later on where Anzu just telling Karin that she's lying about his dad abandoned her. That's when
Yeah.
she want to get revenge.
Okay. Right. And then he wants to get revenge for whoever stole his bike, so he tapes a kitchen
Yeah, yeah,
knife to
yeah.
a pole and starts cutting little holes in the paper
Yeah.
screen door.
Oh my god, that's
That
so.
was a weird scene.
He was like, I cannot tolerate that.
This film has, I think, kind of an indie quality to it,
Yeah, yeah.
in that the plot is not particularly strong. It's more like a collection of funny or heartfelt or um, kind of strange scenes. Like the emergence of the actual quote unquote story where
Yep.
um, she wants to see her mom. Like it's the anniversary of her mom's passing, so she wants to see her. And when she realizes that the god of poverty is real and
Mm,
can take her and Anzu to the underworld where perhaps she can see her mother, that part of the film emerges. I don't know. For me, it was a little abrupt.
mm. Okay.
Like the films definitely seem to have two halves. One where it was more slice of life ish. For
Yep.
example, when they used the bottle rocket to chase away the cormorants, the birds,
Yep. yeah,
and like little scenes like that, and the scene where uh, Anzu takes the forest sprites, which he refers to as baby quails, up
yeah.
to
They
the
look
foot
like
of the mountain, and
quails.
then they see the
Yeah,
little hole, and he goes inside and meets the frog.
yeah,
Like at that
yeah,
point, the film is essentially plotless. It's just following
mhm,
Anzu, and sometimes Karin, on
yeah,
their adventures and seeing what weird and wonderful stuff will happen.
yeah,
Once it makes up its mind that it's gonna take this trip to hell, and there's gonna be like action scenes and chase scenes in a car and stuff. Once they get back up to um, the human realm, things
yeah.
got a little less consistent for me.
Oh, less consistent. Huh. So
Yeah,
you prefer
I much preferred the slice of
the
life
first?
first half.
Yeah. Mm. I actually just want to add that that later on when they get into the hell realms, it actually Karin decision who drive the plot forward because she want her mother back at all costs, and all Azu does actually at the time it just follow along and try the best to help her. Even the mother also have that mentality. So it is her own, her own fight. That she doesn't move. She want her uh, mother back at all costs, and she doesn't really look at all the consequences that will come afterwards. So
Yeah,
by the ending, like when her mother had to, like take the responsibility and go back to the old world, it doesn't really, connect to carrying quest of like bringing her moms back.
yeah. I mean, ultimately, she's just only temporarily successful.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
ends up making things worse
yeah,
overall. But she does get to be reunited with her mother, and I think perhaps the reason that doesn't maybe that's not like super satisfying is because when we like what we learn about Karin is, I mean, when her dad drops her off at this place, we hear from him, I'll be back by the time we need to go to mom's grave.
yeah.
So at that point, we know that her mother is dead. But a lot of her, the attitude that she takes with people
Hmm.
living in the temple and just kicking about town during her summer vacation is more like generally angsty. She doesn't
Hmm.
it's not like made a central part of her character. It's not always brought to the surface, I guess, that what she's really upset about is her mother's death and her father's, I don't know, irresponsibility. So when she decides, oh, it's the anniversary of my mother's death, I'm going to go to the underworld and get her back. And when she actually accomplishes that and brings her back to Earth, it's not as much of like a moment of victory when she does
Yep,
that, because she
yep,
does, even if
yep,
it's only for a while. But it's not as though that was like her long term goal.
yep, yep. True.
Because the before that point, the film was a little bit, kind of wandering in a way that
Hmm.
I thought was charming. It was just going from scene to scene, introducing new characters, be they human or
The
I don't know,
god of
spirits.
poverty. Yep,
Yeah, and I really liked the mushroom man and the old
yep.
woman who bought the lottery ticket, which she used
Oh,
to
yeah.
buy a red sports car that looked absolutely nothing like the entire rest of the film.
Yep.
I was
And then
very I was very distracted by that. Like when it when it
and then
zooms.
that cat got Schwartz as well. Like,
Yeah,
it, oh
that's okay
god.
though, because she got 300 million yen, so she probably had some left over after
And
buying the car.
yeah. And by the end though, Karin father say that he's already paid on the debt, and I highly doubt it. Like how he could even do that.
Well, we
And
see him in hell being lowered like
yep,
into the middle of a, I don't know, was that supposed to be like a light
hell.
fixture or a light some sort of weird chandelier type thing? He gets
Yeah,
lowered into it and then pulled back up, lowered into it and pulled back up.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't know if we're meant to take anything away from that with regard to whether he actually paid back his debt. Um, that was kind of a weird, a
it's
weird scene.
it's yeah, it's weird. It just yeah, it's just weird.
She the concluding moment of the film though is that she like leaves her father behind and goes to be with Anzu.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I didn't feel as though their bond was so strong that that would be
I agree. I
a good
agree.
final scene. Uh, so I
But
was kind of confused actually by the time the film ended. Like, huh?
yeah, but
This
yeah,
is
but
this is the ending point?
yeah, but to say that Anzu will take a proper care of her more than her father, so I think it's a good call.
Yeah, and the dad is just totally cool with it as well. Like, all right, see you later, kid.
One less person one to eat, you know?
One less mouth to feed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so. That's another. When I said the film sort of has an indie feeling to it, that was another point that kind of made me feel that way. Is like the very loose relationship between family members.
yeah.
Sometimes in
It
indie films, it's like the parent is more of a friend to a child than an
yeah.
actual parent, and
I
I kind of
get
got that sense here.
yeah, I get the same feeling as well watching the film with Ongaku because of that indie feeling, you know? Like everything's
Yeah,
just a bit loose, the plot is loose, the characters, like their movement is loose as well, in a good way. And yeah, this film had that as well. And I actually don't mind a series about, like just an everyday life of Anzu and Karin together. That they, go to see all the fun, fantastical world together.
you could do like a Natsume's Book of Spirits
Right.
type
Yeah.
show
Yeah. Yeah.
where instead of Nyanko Sensei, you have Anzu, and instead of whatever the human guy's name is, you have Karin, and they're both like way worse at their jobs,
Yeah.
so they're always messing up, and it could be a comedy instead of like
Yeah.
I don't know whatever
That's
Natsume's Book of
cool.
Friends is.
Yeah,
I'd
that
watch that.
actually so cool. Yeah. All right.
All
All right.
right.
And you have any other closing note on Cat Anzu before we wrap it
Not
up?
not really. I mean, it was kind of a. I was about to say it's a short film. It really wasn't that short though. It was an appropriate length, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm mostly I just thought that the production was amazing.
All right. I think we can close off our podcast now.
All right, sounds good. Next time y'all hear from us, it'll be the Winter 2025 wrap up, where
Mhm.
we'll be talking, regrettably, about three anime series.
Yeah. I think we have the three show as well.
Yeah,
But yeah. All right.
I think I'm gonna start soon.
Oh,
Start catching up with some of them soon.
I'm keeping up with them at the moment. So
Oh,
I think
nice.
like episode 4 or 5 for each of them.
Well,
So
that's a great idea. I should be doing
yeah.
the same thing because I am not really interested in all three of them. So if I try to marathon
Really?
them last second, um, well, when I say I'm not interested in all three, what I mean is not all three of them
I see.
interesting.
I see. Yeah.
If I try to marathon all of them at the last second, I'm gonna, it's gonna kill me. So
I kind of enjoy all of them and some other shows as well. So good season for
okay.
me.
Well, it's next season that I'm very excited for. I've already created my list of 10. We each do
Ooh.
our
Yep.
10 series for spring. But the thing is, I have a bunch of honorable mentions, and for me, that never happens. I always have to stretch it to get to 10, or I just don't get to 10 and I do 8
Yep.
and then I say like don't care for the
Yep.
last two. This time it's like I have my eye on 15 shows.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I am very much looking forward to spring in a way that I haven't looked forward to an anime season in a while.
Right. I'm not sure if I'm that looking forward to the new Anshali, but we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about Anshali too soon. So
Yep.
wait
And
for
cast
that.
number 3. It's coming up. It'll be up eventually.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We will see you in a month from now with more exciting anime stuff.
We'll see you then.
Yep. Bye for now.